I've never been the type to get spooked being home alone. Honestly, I used to love it. The quiet, the peace, having the whole place to myself. But that all changed 3 years ago, on a night that I still replay in my mind, trying to make sense of something that just doesn't make any. At the time, I was living in this small two-bedroom house right on the edge of town. It wasn't completely isolated or anything, but it was just quiet enough that once the sun went down, the rest of the world felt miles and miles away. I had a job working late shifts at a printing warehouse, which meant I usually rolled home a little after 2 in the morning. That particular night was just like any other. I pulled into my driveway, the gravel crunching under the tires, and cut the engine. For a moment, I just sat there in the driver's seat, soaking in the silence. You know, that kind of deep, late-night quiet. No wind, no cars on the road, just this profound stillness that makes you feel like you might be the only person left on the planet. It was peaceful, or so I thought. I finally got out of the car, walked up to the front door, and let myself in. The first thing I always did was lock the deadbolt behind me, that satisfying click that means you re-safe and sound for the night. I dropped my work bag on the floor with a thud and made a beeline for the kitchen to grab a glass of water. The house felt exactly as I'd left it. It was my space. It felt normal. It felt safe. And then I heard it. A knock. It wasn't a loud, aggressive bang, and it wasn't a frantic, hurried rap. This was different. It was slow, almost careful. 3 distinct knocks, each one spaced perfectly apart. Knock, knock, knock. I instinctively glanced at my phone sitting on the counter. The screen glowed back at me. 2:41 a.m. Who on earth would be at my door at this hour? My friends all knew my schedule, and I wasn't expecting any deliveries. My mind started racing through possibilities, but none of them made any sense. I decided not to answer. My heart was starting to beat a little faster, but I told myself to be rational. I just stood there in the middle of my kitchen, frozen, just listening. The silence that followed felt heavier than before. After what felt like an eternity, but was probably only about 30 seconds, there was another knock. Just one this time. A single, solitary thump against the door. And then nothing. The silence returned, thick and unnerving. Curiosity got the better of my fear. I tiptoed over to the front door, my bare feet silent on the cool linoleum floor. I leaned in close, my eye pressed against the peephole, expecting to see a neighbor in trouble, or maybe a lost delivery driver. But there was nothing. The porch was completely empty. The little yellow porch light illuminated nothing but the welcome mat and a few stray leaves. No person, no car in the street, not even a shadow moving in the yard. I pulled back from the door, feeling a little bit stupid. My imagination was clearly running away with me. It was probably just a drunk person who had stumbled to the wrong house and wandered off. Or maybe it was just the house settling or a branch hitting the wood. I tried to laugh it off, shaking my head at how easily I'd let myself get spooked. I turned away from the door, ready to dismiss the whole thing and finally get some sleep. And that's when the knocking came back. But this time, it wasn't from the front door. This time, it was right behind me. It came from inside the house. I froze solid, every muscle in my body tensing up. The sound was unmistakable. It came from down the hallway near my bedroom door. 3 slow, deliberate knocks, the same rhythm. The same unnerving, careful pace. My blood ran cold. This wasn't the house settling. This wasn't a branch. This was something inside with me. I stood there in the dark, paralyzed, my mind refusing to process what was happening. I didn't move. I didn't even dare to breathe, afraid that the slightest sound would give away my position. And then I heard the voice. It wasn't a shout. It wasn't spoken clearly. It was a low, dry whisper that seemed to crawl right into my ear. It was raspy, like dry leaves scraping across pavement, and it whispered my name, my full name, first and last. A name that no stranger stumbling to the wrong door would ever know. That was it. The paralysis broke. A wave of pure primal terror washed over me, and my body just reacted. I didn't think. I just ran. I bolted out the back door, barefoot, not even thinking to grab my keys or my wallet. My phone was still sitting on the kitchen counter, its screen dark. I didn't look back. I sprinted across the cold, damp grass of my backyard, my heart hammering against my ribs so hard I thought it would burst. I fumbled with the gate, burst through it, and didn't stop running until I reached my car in the driveway. I jumped in, locked the doors, and just sat there, gasping for air, shaking uncontrollably. I didn't dare look back at the house. I couldn't. I just started the car and drove. I had no idea where I was going. I just drove until the panic started to subside, finally pulling into the brightly lit parking lot of a 24-hour gas station. I stayed there in my car until the sun came up, watching the sky turn from black to gray to a pale, reassuring blue. I never spent another night in that house. I packed my things the next day with two of my biggest friends standing guard, and I moved out the following week. I broke the lease, paid the penalty, and didn't care. I just had to get away. The story should end there, right? A terrifying, unexplained event that I could maybe, eventually, write off as a nightmare or a hallucination brought on by exhaustion. But it doesn't. About 2 months after I moved, I got a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. It was the new tenant, the guy who had moved into my old house. His voice was shaky. He asked me, "Hey, this is a weird question, but did you ever have problems with someone knocking at night?" I felt a chill go down my spine. I could barely speak. I just mumbled, "Yeah, why?" He took a deep breath and said, "It's been happening for a few weeks now, always around 3 in the morning. But the weirdest part, the scariest part, is that it started calling him by my name. I didn't know what to say. I just hung up the phone. I never found out what happened to him, and I never wanted to. Some things I've learned are better left unknown. I still check the locks multiple times a night, and I'll never enjoy being home alone again. Because sometimes the silence isn't empty. Sometimes something is listening. Thanks for watching. If you have your own story you'd like to share, let me know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more. Stay safe out there.